Okay, and we're live on the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler, who is back home in California.
Do we have to do this?
Yeah. Unfortunately,
can we just not run a show?
Yeah, unfortunately, the game isn't even over yet. I don't even know what happened. We just get picked off or something. Vikings are getting absolutely murdered right now.
Stepped on Sam Darnold's ankle, probably broke it.
But yeah, Vikings are getting absolutely murdered right now. This is one of the most miserable games of my Viking fandom, really almost from the start of this one. You can change the players, you can change the coaches, you can change the narratives of the team. It can be a juggernaut team like in 2009 or 1998 that doesn't seem like they can be stopped. It could be a team like 2017, great defense, team like the 70s, great defense, no one can score on you all year. You give up a Hail Mary, you get blasted by Nick Foles, a backup quarterback in the NFC Championship game. It can be a team like this where you have a journeyman quarterback like Sam Darnold figure it out and have an MVP caliber season, only to have one of the worst games probably of his career. And for Sam Darnold, who's been great this season, to be fair to Sam, there have been some pretty bad games, and in the biggest moment, just absolutely chokes it away. You just can't take the Vikings out of the Vikings, no matter what narrative, what players, what coaches. It will always end in misery. It'll always end in heartbreak. And unfortunately, I find ways time and time again to trick myself, to gaslight myself into believing in this team after dominating the Packers, who have been a great team. Who have been a good team this season. Didn't want to get ahead of myself on Green Bay there. But a great win against a good team last week. Pretty dominant up until the end. To come out and lay a goose egg like this against the Lions, where you go, what do we have, Ziggy? 4 drives in the red zone, 3 of them inside the 5-yard line. We come away with 6 points.
Did we run a single run on any of those plays?
No, we had 2 runs, I believe. 2 runs, I believe. I am just so broken as a Viking fan after this one. Every opportunity to win the game. Like you guys, on this show, we try and keep it jovial most of the time, but I'm dead inside. I'm the Michael Scott gif. Very unhappy. The audio wasn't working before we started the show. That's never been a problem. Like, this is just a bad day to be a Viking fan.
I mean, it's one thing to lose the game, right? You're heading to Detroit, your dogs. Detroit's a great team. They're getting some players back. I could take a loss. I could understand losing this Detroit team. Like, if it was a shootout, the defense made some plays, their defense made some plays, and it was close. That kind of stuff happens, right? This was a hard game to win. But to be completely ineffective in the red zone, to have Vikings moment after Vikings moment, for Sam Darnold in the biggest game of his entire career to show up and look absolutely horrible, for Reichard's problems to come back, it's not just missing the field goals, kicking that kickoff out of bounds to close out the second half and let the Lions get their 3 points back. So many things went wrong. I could list them over and over again. There's a lot here. This is one of those games that it saps any enthusiasm you might have had for the game out, right? Like, does this game define the Viking season? No. Have they played great in other games? Sure. Are they going to win a playoff game? Quite possibly. I can see them going to LA and winning. Like, I'm not excited anymore, because this just feels like the same old Vikings over and over again. Now I feel ridiculous for thinking Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings ever could have done anything differently.
Yeah, how can you believe in this team after today's performance? Yeah, I tried being what is it? Today's January 5th. Is that it? I've tried being optimistic, Paul, for the entire season, and this killed it right here. Every single moment of that first half, really, the defense tried the best they could. They had the interception, the big 4th down stop in the first half. The defense did everything they could against the Lions offense that people said couldn't be stopped. Held them to 7 points until Reichard lost his mind. I don't know what the shank was at the end of the half.
I don't know how that's possible.
I can't wrap my head around that as a kicker. I don't know if he's trying to coffin corner it. He had an issue like that on the kick before. Just kick the damn ball down the field. Half's over. Like, the only thing that can mess up is if you kick it out of bounds. And to have the offense and Darnold be that jittery, that ineffective. You saw Addison, you saw Jefferson saying, "What's going on here?" And we said this, Ziggy. People asked us, what's the one thing that could derail the Vikings season right now over the past few weeks? And I think we had talked ourselves off it, because the whole season we said, it's not fair to Sam to say this, but it's Darnold imploding. That is the one thing that can stop this team from going on a run. And we changed our answers around. We said it's the Vikings. It could be not getting pressure on Goff. It could be XYZ. It could be the offensive line not holding up. But Sam earned the right for us to believe in him. And I think he did. But tonight was the night where you say, this is why you can't pay a guy $50 million. He could still be good. I mean, we had 14 wins. A great season. Could still be good for us next year, but it can't be a $50 million contract. It just cannot be. And it was just it really sucked to see a great season like this. 14 wins, MVP caliber year, wasted away because we missed throws for a half. It's just a joke. It's a joke. The
defense, to avoid being totally negative, the defense was 100% legit this game. Through 3 quarters, they'd limited the Lions to 17 points with multiple turnovers. And 3 of those points came off of a really unfortunately said Reichard kick out of bounds. Obviously, the fourth quarter wasn't great from the defense. But if you told me through 3 quarters, Lions have 17, defense has generated multiple turnovers, I'm taking that. This Lions offense, we've seen what they've been able to do. They've been able to put up 30, 40 points a game. I mean, they put up over 30 this game. But the defense more or less did their job. If the offense plays a little bit better, I don't think the defense even gives up 17 points, frankly. So I think the defense is still legit. That's why I still believe this team can go to LA next week and win. And as he said, it's one bad game from Sam Darnold, right? 18 for 41, 160 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. That's far and away his worst game of the season. But what do I have to believe in of this team? I don't know.
Yeah, people are saying relax in the comment section and in the chat right now. And I'll probably talk myself off it a little bit. I think we have a lot of Packers fans who listen to the show. Packers fans, they're really disappointed after losing to the Bears.
We should own it. We put out a video telling Packers fans to relax because they had some good games and were in the playoffs.
They'll probably, every NFL fan usually tries to convince themselves that they can win. It's just after watching this, guys, this Lions defense has been a joke, an absolute joke. They've been decimated by teams. They're decimated by injuries, and they've been crushed by, they've given up 30 points in 5 straight games or something. They get murdered every time they walk on the field. Terry and Arnold left the game. We have backups in there blowing up our offensive line. Sam can't even throw the ball. When he does, he throws it 10 feet over someone's head. I mean, it's a joke from the top to the bottom tonight for the Vikings, just particularly on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm just done. I'm just like, I want to believe so badly, Ziggy. I want to believe, and I want to convince myself that we can go into LA and win this game. By the way, the only other team that's beat us this year, the Rams. I want to believe. I'm dying for optimism. I'm dying for a reason to continue to root for this team. But it's the same crap every single time there's one of these games. Something goes horrendously wrong, and I cannot take it. Why? What reason do I have to believe, guys? Everyone's saying calm down. What reason is there to believe in this team right now?
I'm putting it to a poll. Should we be optimistic or pessimistic about the Vikings?
I'll find a way to talk myself back into it. But yeah, I mean, what's the comment right here from Rainman Rose? Jefferson shut down by Amik. Sam overthrew him the entire first half.
Let's be clear, right? You pointed to the offensive line, and the offensive line had problems this game. There's no doubt about it. But this was fundamentally a Sam Darnold game. And the reason I say that is because in the first half, there were multiple times where Sam Darnold had a clean pocket and an open receiver, either for a touchdown or for a big game. And throws that he usually makes, or that he's made all season long, he just blew. Right? There was that deep crossing route, totally blew it. There were multiple times in the red zone where he had a clean pocket and a chance to complete a pass to a receiver, overthrew it or blew it. I'm not saying those are easy throws, but those are throws that Sam Darnold has been able to do. Now, of course, once the offensive line stopped playing well, there was no hope whatsoever, but that was not the fundamental problem. If you want to point to one problem this game, it certainly wasn't the receivers. The receivers did their job. They were getting open. Obviously, there were some bad drops. There were some miscues, all of that, but they did their job. I think the problems really start and end of Sam Darnold. And if he'd played at the level he's played at for most of the season, I think the Vikings probably could have won this game.
It should have been a Vikings beatdown in the first half, Ziggy. We moved the ball up and down the field to the 5-yard line every single drive.
We should have been up 17-7?
Should have been 17-7 at least. And then you take all the momentum from them. They're in a little bit of shock. I mean, you couldn't have asked from much more really from the defense in the first half. And then, you could see it all just immediately fall apart. And the Vikings have this innate ability, like I said, like I've said multiple times, this even during this great season. It's been a really, really fun season, but the Vikings can, fall apart on all three levels where drive down the field. Sam has the intentional grounding. We miss a kick. They'll give up a touchdown drive after the defense has been great all day. Like it always finds a way to fall apart. And people are saying, "Why are you so mad?" in the chat. I'm mad because it's the same thing. I want to show up in a big game and just play. I mean, what are the last few big games of like my Viking fandom? There's this one, and there's getting blown out by the Eagles. And then there's the Saints game in 2009 where you have 5 turnovers and outgain them by 200 yards. And no thanks to the refs.
Game where you could talk yourself into thinking the Vikings could have a run, and the Giants come into our building and obliterate us.
Yeah, I want to see a big game where we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. Half the time, it's not even us getting the Eagles did kick our ass, but half the time, it's for reasons that are associated with the Vikings play that we lose. It's us missing a field goal. It's us being ineffective. It's us throwing over people's heads. It's just very disappointing in big games.
Yeah, and it's, Merle understands, right? Longtime fan of the channel, Vikings fan. I'm seeing what he's saying in the chat. He totally gets it. Like, if you were a Vikings fan, you know why we're so despondent. It's not because it was one bad game. Bad games happen. People are right. I suppose I'd rather the bad game happen now than next week when it's win or go home in the playoffs. It's that it just feels like it's exactly the same. And all season long, since like week 4, week 5, we've been trying to talk ourselves into thinking that this Vikings team was different. Since that Packers one, I've been trying to talk myself into thinking that this Vikings team is different, that this year is different. And to have this game come at the time it does and the way it does, Paul, you're absolutely right. It just feels like it's the same pattern over and over again.
It's you can't make it up. That's what I was saying off the top. It's different players, different coaches, different narratives for the team. But every single time that we have a big game, we shoot ourselves in the foot. And that's why I'm upset. If the Lions came in there and just spanked us from the beginning, I totally get it. I would totally get it. That's sort of like the Eagles game when we got blown out in the NFC Championship game. You sit back and you go, you know what? Nick Foles was on fire tonight. There's not much we can do about that. But when I'm watching that first half and we're on the 5-yard line, we can't score on 7 goal-to-go situations, that's on us. I get that Detroit's pressuring, but that's on us. That's on play calling. That's on Sam. That's on the offensive line. You need to figure it out. You need to show up in big games, and we just don't. And I'm so sick of it. Like, it's the same thing. And I appreciate that people are finding amusement in it. Like that's part of the fun of this channel. But any of the Vikings fans in here know exactly what I'm talking about. Let me go real quick, Ziggy. We got a $5 super chat from John Wynn, Packers fan here. You guys were projected 6 wins this season. You're 14-3 with a chance for a deep playoff run, and even if not, great season regardless. No, I get what you're saying, John. Like, this has been an unbelievable year. Tonight's game does not change how much fun it was leading up to it. I mean, the story is great, and the team has just been a joy to watch. But I'm pissed off. Like, we are 14-2, and we did have every opportunity to take control of this game, and the 1 seed was on the line. If you're the 1 seed, you have a legitimate Super Bowl chance. If it's going through Minnesota, yeah, we'll probably lay an egg. That's what we do. That's our business. But if you have the 1 seed, there is a path to the Super Bowl. Now it's go to LA, probably go to Philly, probably go to Detroit. Yeah, it's possible, but is it likely? No. It's not even likely being the 1 seed when you're the Vikings. If you're the 5 seed, you get good luck. So it felt like the season ended tonight. And I know it didn't. And I know everyone will say, oh, this is hyperbole. But it feels like the season ended tonight, especially when you come out and look the way they did. That's why I'm not optimistic anymore. That's why I'm going to be grasping for any reason to believe they can go and beat the Rams. Does that make sense to people? Am I wrong, Ziggy?
I mean, again, I'm sitting here as a Vikings fan, right? So I'm feeling this. It's just, I'm going to be over it tomorrow, right? That's how it is with these things. You're in the moment. It feels especially horrible. But I've said this before on the show, but I'll say it again. It's not that the Vikings lost. I predicted it. You could go check. We did a collab with Rocked On Lions, and we were asked to do score predictions at the end. I predicted the Vikings are losing this game. And if they'd lost like I predicted, right, like 42-31, a close game where the Lions pull away at the end, I'd get it. But that's just not what happened. So, like, Slowtown Trev comes in with the super chat. We run the North, put some respect on the Lions. I don't want talking about the Vikings defeating themselves to make it sound like we don't think this Lions team is good. I think this Lions team is the best team in the NFL. And you saw how much the injuries had impacted them when guys like Anzalone and Khalif Raymond come back and make some impact plays. Anzalone in particular, I thought was really good for them tonight. So it's not that the Lions didn't luck into this victory, but as a Vikings fan, it's hard not to fixate on what our team did wrong rather than what the Lions did well, because everyone knows the Lions are a good team. If you don't think the Lions are good, if you're sitting around saying, oh, it's the Lions, they're probably not going anywhere, like, you got to wake up. The year's 2025 now. Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
We know the Lions are good, so I want to put respect on them. They're very good. They played a great game. They deserve the victory. But the way the Vikings lost, it just feels like vintage Minnesota all over again. And of course, now that we're miserable, right? This is like our best. We've got almost 1,000 people in here. Thank you all for watching. I'm glad that you're enjoying. Some good is coming out of this suffering. This channel always does well when we suffer. But come on.
Thanks to everyone who's listening right now. And the game just ended. Final 31-9. The Lions go to 15-2. Vikings go to 14-3. It's the Paul Farrington Show. Paul and Robert Ziggy Ziegler in California. And I said off the top, I mean, this is just one of the worst games of my entire life. Like, I very few times in the history of this show have I come on genuinely pissed off. And the Rams was one of them. Tonight is probably the second. Even during the Packers run last year, the Packers winning only gets me so mad. But the Vikings losing and frankly being embarrassed in so many ways, and the season ending, in my opinion, in many ways, that pisses me off. And that's why it's a miserable night here. I'm watching the first half, Ziggy, and I'm saying the Lions are begging the Vikings to take control of this game. They're handing it to us. And we couldn't find a way to do anything. And that's what just sucked from the very beginning. And what's Sam finish? 18 for 41 for 166 yards. Took a couple big sacks. Like, he's just so good all year. and Aaron Jones I thought Aaron Jones, until he got injured, was great tonight too. Like, everything felt like it was on its way towards the Vikings winning. If you told me in the first half, Goff throws a pick or Goff throws 2 picks. We're marching down the field and we have 4 drives in the red zone. I'm telling you, we're up big at half. We hold Detroit to 7 points, get a big 4th down stop. It had the recipe for a Viking first half lead, and then it just turned into a nightmare.
Yeah, this was a tough one in a lot of ways. And I don't know. As I'm sitting back here, I'm looking forward for reasons to be optimistic. And like you said, the defense sort of did their job. They were close. Honestly, I wonder if Van Ginkel, if things are going well for the Vikings, this is one of the hot Vikings games. And Van Ginkel got that hand on the screen pass to Goff, had 2 hands on the ball, almost had the pick 6.
I didn't even watch
talk
it.
myself into thinking. Yeah, it was when the Vikings were down 23-9.
Yeah, no, I was setting up the live. I walked out of the room.
You weren't watching it, so I'll tell you the play, right? Yeah. Jared Goff does what you can't do. He throws a screen pass directly at Andrew Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel sticks an arm out, gets a hand on it. Then, as it's batted, he gets 2 hands on it, and it just slips through. There was no one near him. He runs that back for a touchdown every single time. If he does that, it's a totally different game. I think the Vikings get momentum of a chance to win. Instead, the play after, Jahmyr Gibbs busts off a giant run, and the Lions very quickly score a touchdown and put the game away. I mean, when things are going well for the Vikings, that's a play that gets made by Van Ginkel. This was just not that.
I mean, think about it, Ziggy. Think about the 4th down plays. First quarter, first touchdown drive for Detroit. Convert 4th down. Next play, Gibbs runs into the end zone. Vikings 4th down on the 5-yard line, can't convert. Vikings another 4th down inside the 5-yard line. Can't convert. Later on, there's the 4th down that Detroit gets, then Detroit scores. I'm sorry, on the other 4th down on the Gibbs pass over the middle when we had Van Ginkel on him for some reason. I thought that touchdown really ended the game. The one to Gibbs over the middle of the field, but that's what it came down to. To me, it was just a couple plays here the Vikings couldn't execute, and even though I felt like they really kind of controlled the game in the first half and even midway into the 3rd quarter, the big plays they couldn't make. And that's just something that next week has to change if you want to go into LA and beat a Rams team that the Rams basically said. It almost shocked me. They're like, screw it. We don't care who we play. If they won, they were playing the Commanders as the 3 seed. But the Rams essentially punted that game away and said, we don't care if it's Detroit or Minnesota, probably because they think they can beat them. You know, they had the Lions on the ropes twice the last 2 times they played, and they kind of beat the crap out of us. So you almost had the Rams insultingly saying, come on, we'll see you in LA. We're not afraid of you. And after a game like tonight, what is there to be afraid of? It's the thing that the Vikings need to do as a team. And I do trust Kevin O'Connell. I trust Flores. I trust Quace. Like, I do believe in this management, this coaching staff. They need to go in there and say, this was just a bad game. And you're allowed to have bad games. It sucks that it's on a night like this with everything on the line. But against the Jaguars, we were bad. And we got fortunate enough that Mac Jones made a ton of mistakes and couldn't convert any opportunities into touchdowns when Sam threw 3 picks. You have to hope that this is what it was. But it's just, I mean, and I kind of get where Packers fans are coming from. Over the past 2 weeks, what you've seen from them, yeah, why should I believe? Why should I? Let me just go to a couple of super chats real quick. I don't mean to ignore people. I'm just ranting. Slowtown Trev says, who runs the North? Bow down to Detroit Lions. Sam Darnold was so scared.
Sam Darnold was scared. I'll own it. That's sure what it looked like.
Yeah, it kind of did look like that. JP Ryan 816 says Anzalone being back was definitely the difference maker. The Lions essentially got their defense back. He was amazing. I always say Anzalone. I think it's Anzalone is the correct pronunciation. I don't know why. I've just always done that.
I'm saying Anzalone. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's amazing. Like every single time, every single time we play Detroit, he's running all over the field, his hair flying around in the wind, and he looks majestic, and he's making big play after big play. I don't root for any injuries ever, but I was really hoping that he might just sit out for one more game here.
Yeah, if he's already hurt.
If he's already hurt, I was hoping he could sit out one more game. But I mean, that's a football player, right? Playing with a broken arm and coming out, being a difference maker, a linebacker. I remember when, see the Notre Dame helmet here on the desk when Ziggy and I were there with Drew Tranquil, who's had a really good career. Drew was like playing through a broken wrist. He was married with like a 3.9 GPA, doing legitimately everything imaginable a human could do. He was a
valedictorian in the engineering school.
Yeah, like it was just, they show him on the screen and you were like, this guy is the perfect football player. Like everything you want in a football player. That Anzalone kind of reminded me of that coming out there. A gutsy performance, and you know what? He showed up. Slowtown Trev. Ziggy, you in California? I'm in, what is that? San Luis Obispo?
Yeah, San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, I've never heard. Well.
But no, it's, and this is the thing about this Lions team, I think that's so scary. Is like Anzalone came back, right? And now that they've got this bye, looks like David Montgomery could be back for their next game. Not that it really looks like they needed him in this one. Ennis Rakestraw could possibly be back. In 2 weeks, I could see him coming back from his hamstring injury. Carlton Davis, he was projected to return the NFC Championship game, might be able to get back a week earlier. Aiden Hutchinson, he keeps talking about a chance of returning if they're able to make it to the championship game or the Super Bowl. Like, guys, you talk about the Lions injuries, and there are a ton, and tons of guys have gone on IR and had to miss games, but they're starting to come back. And I think this Anzalone game showed if some of those guys come back from injury, this defense that has been serviceable, that's been okay, might be able to be better than okay. It might be able to be good. You might be able to get difference makers back. And if this defense can generate a couple big plays a game, they don't have to be the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, right? They just have to be a functional defense that occasionally generates big plays, what they did today. This Lions team could be genuinely unstoppable in the playoffs.
Yeah, if they had their full defense right now, if they were healthy, they would be unstoppable. But that's why it's so frustrating tonight. You just go back and you watch them over the past few weeks. I mean, San Francisco lighting them up, and San Francisco had guys out. I mean, the Bills obviously a great offense, but that was just ridiculous what they were doing to them. Green Bay in the second half, Jordan Love got going, basically became unstoppable for a few drives. Like every elite offense, and I'm not, San Francisco's not even an elite offense, but the elite offenses have had their way with this Lions defense over the past couple weeks. And to just see us come out there and lay an egg like this, where, you know, we did move the ball up and down the field. It's not like we got completely shut out or shut down. It was just when you have those make or break moments. Ziggy, I stood up after Cam Akers broke the 55-yard run to start the second half. I stood up in the basement. I'm watching with a bunch of people. I walked to the back of the room and just yelled out the F word. I just shouted it out, and people were like, "What's wrong with you? You're on the 5-yard line. You just had a 55-yard run." And I said, "You'll see."
You don't understand.
I said, "You'll see in about 3 minutes." That's the exact quote. I mean, maybe our good pal Tom Monroe, Lions fan, probably jacked up. Congrats, Tom. It's a great win. I texted Tom too. I said, "You'll see in about 3 minutes. Like this will be a disaster." And it was like you just sometimes you just know your team, and it felt like there was the opportunity tonight to kind of rewrite some of the. Why do I even try? I mean, I remember an article that came out, Ziggy, before the Eagles game in 2017. Ziggy and I were freshmen in college that year. And the article came out the morning of the game. There's no way you saw this, Ziggy, because I don't think you were really into the Vikings yet at the time. You kind of just dealt with my whining and my celebrations. But the article was just from I think it was like a 60, maybe 70-year-old Viking fan who basically just warned the younger kids. He's like, I see a lot of excited 15, 20-year-old Viking fans, even people my age. He's like, I know how this ends. Like, we're 6.5-point favorites on the road against a backup quarterback. Been here before. Like, this does not end well for us. It's like a Viking. It's like SB Nation Vikings or Fan-Sided Vikings posted. Like a Viking website posted this. It's like, we know what's going to happen tonight. And we got our ass kicked. I should have known better. Like, I really should have. Because I'm on this show. I'm going on the Rock Down Detroit Lions. And I'm telling everyone I know, like, I really believe. And I even acknowledged that my believing would probably mean that this was going to happen. But I still overlooked that and tricked myself into believing that I was jinxing myself. And that the jinx would stop this from happening. So I guess I just need to learn my lesson and just accept, like, yeah, we're gonna lay an egg in these situations no matter what happens.
I mean, what did you say? You said on the Rocked on Lions podcast a few days ago, like yesterday, you said what? You know, there's been a transformation in Detroit with Dan Campbell, but the same kind of transformation is happening in Minnesota, right? Kevin O'Connell's doing the same things. He's just not a character. He's not as flashy about it. After this game, I'm not so sure that's true. Detroit, I'll say it. I think the curse has been purged. I do not think this Lions team is cursed anymore.
You're wrong.
I don't think so. Look, maybe they're going to go into the playoffs. Jared Goff is going to throw 5 interceptions again. They lose the game. I don't think so. I think this Lions team, whatever curse they've had, it was purged by Peyton Manning. It's been overcome. The Vikings clearly have. A big game shows up. Sam Darnold looks like he's playing for the New York Jets again. He starts seeing ghosts. The defense makes some uncharacteristic mistakes. Special teams continues to fall apart. I'm not believing in this Minnesota Vikings team ever again. I've said that over and over again. And I appreciate some Lions fans are coming in here. Again, Slow Down Trev coming in with a keep your head up. It's all love. John Hoslet coming in. Packers fan, feel for you guys. Kick the Rams' butt.
Yeah, like, it's nice. I get that. Nice. It's nice. But
no, you don't know our team. We know our team. The season's over. Good night. Take a nap. I might not even watch the Vikings play next week. Matthew Stafford's going to have the best game of his career. Cooper Kupp's going to go for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Whoever on the Rams is playing on the interior defensive line is going to outperform Aaron Donald, probably break his single game sack record with the Rams. And we'll just have to move on. It is what it is.
Ziggy, my brother for Christmas got me a bottle of Macallan 15, the whiskey, the scotch. Super, super nice scotch. And very nice of my brother to get that. He said, hey, you guys hit 15,000 subscribers on the channel. I thought this would be a fun gift. And I was like, wow, that's really nice. And before the game, I said, hey, when we win tonight, guys, I was looking around there. I was like, when we win tonight, Matt, we're going to break out the Macallan.
No, you didn't say that.
I said, we're going to break out the Macallan 15 to celebrate 15 wins, the 1 seed, the opportunity to run our path to the Super Bowl through Minnesota. We're breaking out the Macallan. And in like the middle of the third quarter, I was like, all right, this is Macallan stands shut tonight.
Why would you say that?
Because I believed, man. I believed. It's fun to believe. Like if you go through your entire fandom, just always thinking it's going to end poorly, it's going to end poorly, it's going to end poorly. Like, where's the fun in that? And I'm convincing myself in the second quarter when we're turning it over on downs. I'm going, you know what? It's a big game. Like these are the games that you live for as a fan. And finally, by like the beginning of the fourth quarter, I was like, screw this, man. Like this is not the game I'm living for. Like this is all. Wait, this is the same shit every single season. So I don't know. I guess I'm at a crossroads with my fandom. And what's crazy about this is that we are 14-3. I mean, of course, the Vikings, the greatest wild card team by record in the history of the league. And one, we're a wild card. Two, I have no faith in us to go in and even win against the Rams. This entire season, we thought the number 4 seed in the NFC would be a very, very winnable game for the Vikings. And I think Tampa Bay would be right now. Baker's been awesome for most of the year, but Tampa's like today you saw some of the issues they have. If it was Atlanta, it was a cakewalk. Of course, it's the freaking Rams. The only other team that beat us with who I think is probably the best quarterback in the NFC and Matthew Stafford.
Let's not forget. Rams fans, no, I don't think there's a whole lot of Rams fans in here, but maybe there's a couple coming in. Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, excuse me. Nobody talks about those guys because they're young. They play for the Rams. The Rams haven't been a flashy team this year. That's maybe the best young edge rusher and a very, very good defensive tackle. The Vikings offensive line is going to be challenged again. It's going to be a harder challenge than this Lions team, and they failed that one. It's going to be harder for Sam Darnold. They failed that one.
The Lions were playing with backups all over the field. And I they play with a lot of heart in Detroit, and you have to give them total credit. I mean, that was a great defensive effort inside the 5 yard.
Next week, the lines are out. We're 1-point dogs.
Yeah. Are we dogs? We're dogs. Yeah.
To the Rams.
That checks out. That we're dogs. Yeah. The Lions play with a lot of heart, and I don't think they deserve a ton of credit in that we did march down the field and we would get there. They deserve credit for the stops, for those plays inside the 5 yard line. But I was just listening to Collinsworth going off about how great this Detroit Lions performance is, and I'm like, we're 2 or 3 plays away from being up double digits here. It was just we weren't able to make it count when it mattered, and that costs you. Creepy DSP Historical Society says, "Dear Lions fans, impossible challenge. Carry yourselves like you've been there before." A lot like they haven't been here before, really. So I get it. It's okay. You can talk, but you can talk smack. Slowtown Trev says, "Ziggy's the man. Look, no crap team goes 14-2." Yeah, that's true. GG.
Look, this Vikings team isn't bad, but they're the Vikings. They're going to fall short when it matters the most.
Yeah, and again, I think people are misunderstanding our sadness here and our anger. It's not that we lost just this game. It's the way we lost it. And the way that it's always the same in these big games. Like, you have bad games, they're allowed, but it's always in the big moment. And that's where it's really disheartening. That's why we're pissed off. It's like, come on, just give us one. Give us one. It's the Lions. Yeah, can we not beat the Lions in these games?
And Lions fans are coming in here saying, like, well, what's wrong with giving the Lions credit? Why aren't you guys talking about the Lions? We're not talking about the Lions because it's obvious they're a great team. It's obvious they played well. It's obvious getting the 1 seed, sweeping the hardest division in the history of football, having a bye, getting ready to go on a playoff run. Everyone knows that Lions team is good and they're only getting better as guys come back. But we're Vikings fans. We've got to talk about what we know. And honestly, I don't recognize this Detroit team. If you take nameplates off, the Detroit Lions are maybe the team I would least expect this team to be. Like, they're not playing like any Lions team I have ever seen. Even the Lions last year, this team is night and day better than them, I think. So I don't want to say that like we're not giving them credit, but it's just, man. Like, what am I supposed to do?
It's not about the Lions' credit. It's about the Vikings not showing up. That's what it's about. And that's why we're pissed off. And we deserve to be. You need to show up in these games. Like, you need to show up. And I don't know if that was on KOC before the game. Like, I think it's really what it comes down to, guys. And I hate to say it, Sam was horrible in the first half. I mean, most of the game, but Sam was really horrible in big moments in the first half. And he's been great all season, and that's why it's annoying. There was no reason to believe that this performance was coming from Sam Darnold, no matter what people say. People can say, hey, it's Sam Darnold. He was like, we've seen this with the Jets. He's seeing ghosts. Make fun of him all you want. There was no valid reason to think that this would happen tonight against a Lions team that has all these injuries and has been lit up when Sam has been playing some of his best football of the season. We all saw him on national television destroy the Packers 7 days ago. There was no reason to think that this kind of a performance was coming tonight. That's why it's annoying. Because there was nothing to believe that we would suck. And somehow we find a way against a defense that we should be marching up and down the field on and scoring a lot of points. We find a way to have to just blow it away. That's why it's annoying.
No,
and you're 14-2.
Yeah, now I've got to come in here and hear about how Amik Robertson is the best cornerback in the history of football.
Now I have to listen about Amik Robertson being the yes.
Even though Justin Jefferson got wide open against him and had multiple opportunities to catch a touchdown over him, and Sam Darnold couldn't deliver the ball. No, I feel bad for Justin Jefferson. No wonder if he must have known what the Paul Farrington Show chat was going to look like, and just known that people were going to say Justin Jefferson got clamped, he had a horrible game, bum. No disrespect to Will Rock, but I'm sure people are going in saying, you were right, Amon-Ra St. Brown's way better than Justin Jefferson. It's all because of Sam Darnold.
Yeah, it's disappointing. And I see like people are saying we refuse to actually be unbiased. Like, no, it's not. We're not unbiased. What are you talking about here? Like, I'm sorry, we're not
Detroit
biased.
Played great.
Yeah, we're not biased here.
Detroit
like, yeah, we're saying
the game.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't think Detroit played great tonight. In the fourth quarter, they kicked our ass.
Well tonight.
Fourth quarter, they kicked our ass. I mean, Goff had 2 picks in the first half. Like,
I think over the whole of the game, Detroit played pretty good football.
I thought they got pressure on us. I thought the Vikings threw this game away more than Detroit won it. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect the Lions. I think the Lions, as the 1 seed, are going to be very difficult to beat. They're probably going to go to the Super Bowl. I think it's amazing that they're here, given that if you look at their depth chart, half of it says IR. It's unbelievable. And Goff has been amazing most of the year, an MVP candidate. Jahmyr Gibbs, I like Jahmyr Gibbs as much as anyone on the planet. Like, you and Jack have made fun of me for how highly I talk about Jahmyr Gibbs. I thought the Vikings gave this game away. And if you go watch it, they did. They did. You have the ball on the 5-yard line 3 times, you should score at least 2 touchdowns. If you're first and goal from the 5-yard line, you should be getting the ball in the end zone. The Vikings blew it.
Yeah. No, and as we've got a chat coming in from Ricky Jean-Marie that's asking an interesting question. Would you say more blame should be placed on the O-line than Darnold? Quarterback hits can really get in his head if a quarterback lets it get to him. I don't think so, because the problems of Sam Darnold started before the offensive line problems. The first half of the game, the offensive line, I thought, in general, played pretty well. There were times Darnold got flushed out of the pocket, but more often than not, he was getting a clean pocket for 3-4 seconds and an opportunity to deliver a pass. And he just missed a lot of them. And I've got to say, I do have to say, I'm looking at the chat here. I put this in the chat, but I'm thrilled. I feel like we finally made it as a show. There are people who are bona fide haters who say they've been following us all year and are bringing up takes from the beginning of the season. I never, ever would have believed we would be big enough to have haters, guys that like hate watch us. So from the bottom of my heart, and I truly mean this, it means a lot that you care enough about what I think that you're willing to watch hours of our show just to find stuff to hate on us for. So thank you. You're big fans. I appreciate it. And if you are enjoying this, if you're liking watching this, if you're enjoying watching Vikings fans be miserable, Lions fan, Vikings fan, Packers fan, Rams fan, I don't care what you are, hit the subscribe button. We do stuff like this. We're doing our best to give objective analysis here. We're a little more biased than we usually are, but I think it's coming out that we'll say the truth, or at least what we see the truth to be, even though our emotions are on the sleeve. Hit the subscribe button, come in the chat, become a member. There's lots of stuff you can do to support us. And if you're a Rams fan, you've got to hit that subscribe button so you can watch us do this all over again.
Yeah, right. We'll be back in 8 days right here. Slowtown Trev goes, Paul, love you too, bro. Vikings aren't a bad team, bro.
They're not bad. It's just,
no, they're not
what
bad.
am I supposed to do?
They're not bad. And it's fun. It's fun hanging out with everyone here. And I'm not gonna cry. Some people are like, Paul's gonna cry. Like, I'm okay. I'm really okay. I'm just a little frustrated. Give me like an hour to rant, and then I'll move on with my life. It's just I was really excited for this game.
We're 40 minutes in. We're about to get back to normal.
Yeah, I was really excited for this game. I really believed that they were gonna go in and win tonight, and that's on me. Yeah, that's just on me here. Oh, I was looking at the wrong.
People are asking, like, why don't we do short routes? Why don't we run the ball? Kevin O'Connell's usually got a great plan. Oh, you know what? It's in a bit of good news. We've broken 17,000 subscribers. This live took us over the
that
top.
is good news.
So
get out the
milestone
McAllen
for us. Yeah, you know what? Let's get a round of applause for the chat. Getting us over 17,000. We appreciate you. Even though we're feeling bad right now, we appreciate you guys coming in. And Randy Pittman coming in with a big super chat. I feel you guys. I watched my dad's favorite Vikings Tarkenton team lose Super Bowl after Super Bowl. I think this loss can refocus the team. Number ones the past 20 years have gotten beaten by 5s and 6s. And I'll say that's true. And Paul, you and I, we were undergrads at Notre Dame. So we can't sit back here and say we don't know what a loss where the team looks miserable can't turn the season around. I'm not saying the Detroit Lions are NIU. Obviously, they're a very good team. They're much better than that.
Yeah, now you're gonna get it.
No, I mean it. Like, I'm just saying, the only reason I bring that game up is everybody who watches Notre Dame, every single person will tell you this team would not have been what they've been. They would not have been able to go to the Sugar Bowl and beat Georgia if it weren't for that loss. So my best hope is that Sam Darnold somehow fixes whatever was wrong with him. If this team comes in with a chip on their shoulder, that Kevin O'Connell isn't ready to play in LA next week and then wherever they have to go to next. But do you really believe that's what's going to happen? This doesn't feel the same, and it feels like this is too late in the season to bear a collapse like that.
I'm just tired of losing to the Lions, man. I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but what is this, 5 in a row now? 6 of 7, and they're like heartbreaking losses too. It's just, I feel like no matter what we do, and I've had this feeling all year. I said this in week 7, Ziggy. I said this in week 7, that every single season the Vikings have one of these years where they are 14, 12, 13 win team, whatever it may be, competing for the 1 seed. There's always that one team, the thorn in their side, that they can't catch all season. And in my lifetime, it was the Saints in 2009. It was the Eagles in 2017. 2022, we couldn't catch the Eagles again. I know we ended up as the 3 seed, but we couldn't catch Philly. This year is Detroit. And every single year, that team just finds ways to win games, and it feels inevitable. And I tricked myself into thinking we'd win tonight, but there's still that inevitable feeling to the Lions that they're going to find a way to win. And it's really annoying. It's really frustrating. There's almost this like obnoxious arrogance to the Lions feel. I mean, they're super fun. I think the Lions are a really fun team. I love Goff. I love Gibbs, Campbell. Like, I like them. But there is this arrogance, probably in that they're like going for these, like going for it on 4th down at the end of the game. They're up 15 points. Idiotic from Campbell. I know they scored. Make it a 3-score game. It's over. Just kick the field goal. I know they wound up scoring a touchdown, or they got us to jump off sides. Like, I think he would have gone for it probably. And it's that kind of thing where they feel inevitable. And I was hoping we'd find a way. I'm sorry, I thought they went for it on the 4th down. I forgot we jumped off sides. Classic Vikings. But it's just every year the Vikings have these magical runs. There's someone else who has a little more magic. And that's how Detroit has kind of felt this season, despite all the injuries. I mean, we've seen it with the Vikings before when Carson Wentz went down. The Eagles still had more magic. And that's why that's another reason it sucks. It's like, yeah, we're having this great year, but it doesn't feel like our year. And
and the reason I think the Sam Darnold game feels so bad is this wasn't a less than stellar performance. This wasn't like Sam Darnold was okay, missed a couple of throws he usually does, was like 80%. This was a meltdown. And I don't care if he didn't throw a single interception. Anybody who watched this game can tell you this was a meltdown from Sam Darnold. This was his worst game of the season by far. This was worse than most of the games he played in Carolina. This is worse than a lot of the games he played for the Jets. Like, he held on to the ball, I guess, which was nice. But, you got creepy ad DSP Historical Society coming in saying, Packers fan, Detroit's dirty, the same way New England was, mugging anybody. This wasn't the Lions playing dirty. That's not why they won this game. I didn't even see a whole lot of that. I was frustrated with the officiating. I felt like they missed some calls that they should have. There was an early face mask. I thought that was obviously grounding. But like, that wasn't the problem. Anytime you lose 31-9, you can't point to the refs or to some like handsy cornerback play and say that's why you lost. We lost because we got outplayed. Plain and simple.
See, I don't agree with that. I think we lost because Sam was horrible in the first half.
I think we got outplayed.
I think we lost because Sam was
more than one half, Paul.
Sam was throwing the ball over people's heads the whole time. I think the Vikings blew it more than the Lions won, even though that's not disrespectful to the Lions. They kicked the crap out of the Vikings in the fourth quarter, like a good team should. When the Vikings were down, they put them out of their misery. They finished them. Like that's what great teams do. The Lions are a great team. I don't want anyone in this chat saying I'm not giving the Lions credit. I'm giving the Lions all the credit in the world for pounding the Vikings when they were down. But the Vikings should not have been down. The reason they were down is because they blew it themselves. It's because everyone watching, as you said, anyone. I was getting texts from people I don't even talk to saying, what is going on? Like, what a choke job from Darnold. Sam had a horrible game. That's why we were in the position to get pounded in the fourth quarter to begin with. And anyone who disagrees with that wasn't watching the same game. And I hope it gets corrected next week. I really want to believe that we can go into LA and win. And who knows what happens from there. The playoffs, weird things happen. But a game like tonight...
Weird things in favor of the Minnesota Vikings? You really want me to believe that?
But I don't like your poll, Ziggy. Like, obviously the Lions outplayed them in the game overall.
I just told you the Lions outplayed the Vikings, and you said, I don't think that's true.
No. I'm saying, like, obviously in the grand scheme of the game, the Lions outplayed them. But I'm saying we blew it ourselves in the first half. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that's.
I'm not gonna sit up here and say we outplayed Detroit for the whole game. We lost by 20 points. But the first half, we had a chance to seize momentum. And if we're up 17-7, I don't think we lose this game by 20 points. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
Stafford carving Minnesota ass up.
Counterfactuals work out. I don't know. I guess I don't know what to do here. Maybe Slowtown Trev's right and Paul should take a shot. And Michael Merrill, we missed your super chase. You've been watching for over a year. Fun to watch. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. We're glad you're having fun. If you're enjoying this, hit the subscribe button, I guess. I don't even have it in me to do a full CTA right now. It's just this is a tough loss. Shout out to Kim Jong Skills. You really are a professional hater. You've been in here for 40 minutes just like hating on us and misrepresenting things we're saying. And now you're hating on Notre Dame and the quality of a Notre Dame degree. I appreciate that. Again, that's committed hating. I don't know. Like, Paul, what are we supposed to do here? Like going forward, right?
No, I think I'm entering I'm working through the stages of grief. And I'm going to start convincing myself on the path. I'll start looking at ways that the Vikings, Commanders, Packers win. We'll be hosting a game in the divisional round. It was a bad game. It was a really bad game. It sucked. Had to vent a little bit. Had to go on a couple rants. Hope everyone enjoyed it at our expense. But look, sometimes you just have bad games, and it sucks that Sam had his worst one of the year tonight. I'm not viewing this season as a failure. like any Vikings fan who comes out and says like this season sucked is out of their minds.
I mean, no team has surpassed their win total by more than us regular season since the Kurt Warner Rams.
Yeah, it's
nobody expected us to get here. The fact that we had a chance to play for the 1 seed is incredible on its own. But once that happens, it doesn't feel great to get blown out in the most important regular season
it's a
game
disappointing loss.
Like NFL.
If let's say the Vikings beat the Rams next week, and you have the Bucks, and you have the Eagles win, so the Vikings are back in Detroit in 2 weeks, which could wind up happening. I'll still feel that we can compete with them. There just seems to be something the Vikings can't get over with the Lions. And the first game of the year, we had an opportunity late. It just seems like whenever there's that big stop we need, or there's that one play on offense that we need, we can't get it. Tonight, it was the plays on the 5-yard line. It was getting a stop after Reichard missed the field goal. Those are drives. Those are plays that you need to be able to make. The first game, we had the 3rd and 4. The 3rd and 4, I believe, to basically run the clock out. Could not convert. Then we had an opportunity to stop Detroit up 2 points or up 1 point. Couldn't stop them. Bates hits the field goal. There's just, as I said, I don't want to keep saying inevitable, but like there's that inevitable feeling to Detroit against the Vikings right now where yeah, they might just be a little better. They might just be a little more efficient in key moments. They just make the plays that matter, and we don't. And that's something that I do acknowledge. Like, yeah, we don't make the big plays, and Detroit has done that all year long. Detroit is consistently on fourth down plays, whether or not you agree with Dan Campbell to go for it against the Packers. They pick up that fourth down. Like they make big plays. And that's what I mean by like there's that little bit of arrogance and just deciding to go for it because it's really risky, but it's also confidence. And you have to acknowledge that. And it's the execution they have top to bottom. Yeah, Aaron Glenn did a great job tonight drawing up a game plan to rattle Sam Darnold. I'll give him credit there. I also think that Sam had a horrible night. Yeah, there's some credit to Aaron Glenn, but there's also a little bit of blame on Sam Darnold and say, Sam, you're a professional quarterback. You want a $50 million contract. You got to hit that throw to Jefferson in the fade. Like, you have to make it. So there's give and take both ways where the Vikings fell apart and the Lions came in and made plays to knock them out. So I acknowledge it.
We've got a couple more super chats here.
Go ahead.
We've got one from Matchy 430. Keep your heads up. Packers going through it too. And similar from Mike Witt, Packers fans here. At least you didn't lose to a 4-win team at home. I actually, as I've thought about it, I'll be honest. I know Packers fans, and we've got a lot of them here, are going through it after watching their team lose to the Bears at home. But this game didn't really matter much. Once the Commanders won, you were getting the 7 seed regardless. I know losing to the Bears at Caleb Williams sucks. I'm sorry. I'll just say it. This hurts worse. This hurts much, much worse than losing to the Chicago Bears in a meaningless game. Because this game actually, it mattered. It made a huge difference to the trajectory of the season. And we weren't able to get it done, and we lost in classic Vikings fashion. And another one from Slowtown Trav. We really appreciate your support. Just want to say, love you guys. Tough loss, but Paul, you guys are 14-3. Incredible. Not easy to win the NFL. Take a shot. You still deserve it. Paul, I think Slowtown Trav really wants you to take that shot.
No. I'll take a shot.
I think that might be
win.
a bad idea with how it seems like you're feeling right now. I've been around you when you take some shots. I'm not sure in this.
No. I'm not a sad drinker. I don't go to the bottle when I'm sad.
I've never seen you after a Vikings game, after a Vikings loss like this, though, because this is the biggest Vikings loss I've been around you for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go to the bottle when I'm sad. I'll go to the bottle to celebrate, and I'll look. If the Vikings had won tonight, yeah, I'm probably having a glass of the whiskey. Is there a world where I dabble with tequila? Yeah, probably, but I'm probably not. I probably wouldn't have. It's just already it's midnight. I'm not gonna get plastered. So don't worry, I'm fine here. I'm fine. But yeah, this is the biggest Vikings loss that you've seen for me. It's a little bit different than the NFC Championship games because you're not knocked out, But this did feel like, in some ways,
we're knocked out of the Super Bowl. We're not going.
No, that's what I mean. Like, in some ways, and you could call it an overreaction, but I really don't think it is. When you lose out on that 1 seed and you drop back to the 5, it feels like you're letting go of the real chance to go to the Super Bowl. Now you're relying on not a miracle run, but you're relying on a pretty amazing run through difficult going on the road. We talked about how good the NFC's been this year. Going on the road against good teams and having to win probably 3 of them. So that's where you kind of lose that true belief that you can get the job done and win the big game. And the Lions, for the Lions, I think it's the same way. Detroit, I trust a little more not to have the collapse that the Vikings had tonight. Goff had that in Houston, but I think you kind of trust this offense to be consistently great in a way that you can't with the Vikings. But if Detroit had to go on the road to LA and then had to go maybe to Philly or Minnesota and then vice versa in the NFC Championship game, I'm not picking the Lions to go to the Super Bowl. It's hard. It's a hard path. So that's why I feel like in many ways the season died tonight. And it sucks because it was an awesome season. And I really believed that after the Green Bay game, they had a chance to do something special that no Vikings team has done, or at the very least, do something that a Vikings team hasn't done 40 years, 50 years, and go to a Super Bowl. So
to put it in comparison, just to see how much this extra game matters, say you've got a 70% chance of winning all your games in the playoffs, every single game you play, which is crazy high, right? But I'll give this Lions team a 70% chance. If you've got to play 2 games to make it to the Super Bowl, that means you got a 50% chance of going. If you got to play 3 games, means you got a 33% chance of going. There's a huge difference in having to play that extra game, even if you think you're 70 or 75% to win it. And let's be honest, the Vikings are 1-point dogs going to LA. What would the Lions be? Like 3.5-point favorites, maybe? They wouldn't be overwhelming favorites going into Los Angeles to play the Rams in the playoffs. Every team you play in the playoffs is good. So it makes a huge difference. And of course, that's not even considering that home field advantage gives you an extra 3 points and increase your chance of winning substantially. So I do want to get to a couple of these super chats. You've got one from Alan Page. Will Coots says, I got to pay to get noticed on here, so buy a beer. Skol and go Irish. Thank you, Alan Page. We really appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Alan.
Alan Page actually called into our radio show long ago, so we appreciate you.
Vikings legend.
And then Mike Witt, if it makes you feel better, I think you all destroy the Rams next week. The Packers beat Philly and shock the world in Detroit. Vikings-Packers rematch.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I hope so. I'd love that. I would love to have the NFC Championship game be Vikings-Packers, mostly just because it means the Vikings made the NFC Championship game. I'll be honest, like I don't really care who we're playing. Like, congratulations, Packers, I guess. But I can't see us going on a run after this. I can't. Detroit showed us what it takes to be a team that can win the Super Bowl, what it takes to be a team that goes in the playoffs and makes a deep run. When the big moments come, you make the play, regardless of if Jared Goff throws a couple interceptions, regardless of if your defense coughs up some big plays, regardless of the mistakes. When it's time for a big play, the good teams consistently make the play. Detroit, set aside their couple of losses early in the season. They do that. The Vikings don't. We haven't been in a lot of situations where we've needed big plays. It's happened sometimes. Darnold's gotten it done sometimes. But this game, I think, showed you the delta between a true Super Bowl contender and a decent team that can win some games and maybe win a playoff game or two. I'm out. I'm out on the Vikings.
I was going to say that
was video. I'm done. Darnold chokes. Vikings blow it. Season is over. I'm not sure you believe that. Maybe you're clickbaiting. I don't know. You're great with these clickbait video titles.
No,
I'm not clickbaiting. I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, maybe I am just No, because the thing is, I'll convince myself later tonight that I'll find a way to believe. Like, I just need an hour or so, an hour and change to kind of get over it. Like, I was pissed off. At the start of this video, if you go back to the beginning of this, I'm pretty pissed off. And I'm still annoyed, but the reality of it, it's a bad game. Like a bad, horrible game. And yeah, I'm sick and tired of it. I'm shocked that Darnold was this bad. I could have seen Sam coming out and the offense struggling, but I just didn't see the numerous overthrows and the consistent failure in the red zone. Like, that just wasn't who this team was all year. And I think, bro needs the whiskey. Like, I get that there are a lot of Lions fans and Packers fans in the chat who want to make fun of the Vikings, but they were a Super Bowl contender. We
deserve to be made fun of after this game. I'll own it.
Yeah, but they were a Super Bowl contender, like, straight up. And I thought the defense in the first half, no team has done really what the Vikings did to Detroit, or at least for a long time has had that kind of a shutdown performance on the Lions. This Lions offense had been unstoppable. And once the Vikings were down and out, they became that again. But there's the opportunity to win this game. Or not win, but at least take control several times. And we weren't able to do that. There's no one to blame for that but the Vikings. So I get it. We didn't play well. Dawn's making me laugh. She's like, Paul's making me sad. No, I am sad, Dawn. I'm very sad.
I mean, we don't really want to make you sad.
And I'm not trying to make people sad.
What are we supposed to do?
I'm just trying to cope a little bit. I need I need some people too.
Yeah, you go back to like week 6, right? This is what I mean when I talk about the way we lost mattering. If it had been like that game where the Lions have a great quarter, but the Vikings otherwise play pretty well, scare the Lions, give them a real gut punch on the way out, I wouldn't be happy, but I'd understand. It feels like we've taken a huge step back in comparison to them since week 6, which I don't really understand. They've gotten hurt. Their team should be worse. Somehow it feels like they're playing better than ever.
Dark says could be worse. You could have lost to the Bears today. Yeah, no, that was really bad. But as far as Packers fans go, like Jordan Love was out. You weren't going to get the 6th seed anyway because the Commanders wound up winning.
You lost on Rick Bisaccia not being able to do punt return coverage.
Yeah, it's a bad and then the horrible roughing the passer penalty. So like or horse collar, but I still think the Packers can go. I guess I need to take my opinion on the Packers and shift it to the Vikings. That's really what I have to do here. Like I think the Packers probably lose going to Philly. Like that's a hard place to play. That's the place I'd least want to go into of all the NFC teams is into Philly. But I think the Packers have a shot. Obviously, the past 2 weeks has been really bad, but their ceiling's very high. I need to take that approach with the Vikings. The Vikings do have a really high ceiling. Their ceiling is beating up on almost everyone except the Lions.
Yeah, but here's the difference. The Packers ceiling is where Jordan Love takes them. Matt LaFleur said he was just held out precautionary. He'll be back because this game didn't really matter. Our ceiling is where Sam Darnold takes us.
No, but Ziggy, I mean, Sam Darnold, like, look at the Sam Darnold he got against Atlanta. Look at the Sam Darnold he got against the Packers. Last week, he was on fire. You hear guys talking about him, and Sam Darnold can make throws that a lot of NFL quarterbacks can't. Like, and that's a reason. That's why Kyle Shanahan wanted him in San Francisco. That's why Kevin O'Connell brought him to Minnesota. He is a great thrower. And that's why it did not make sense tonight that you had the overthrows and the inaccuracy, all the things that Sam hasn't had. You had some of the big sacks. That's been a problem all year. But when Sam has a clean pocket and he can step up and make a throw, normally he makes it. And even this season when he's been hit, he normally makes a throw. And tonight he was just off.
Our chat knows. I put out a poll. Who has a better chance of sparking a playoff run, Jordan Love or Sam Darnold? It's like 80% Jordan Love.
Well, yeah, no one's going to argue with that. Everyone knows that Jordan Love has a higher ceiling than Sam, but Sam's ceiling is like Sam playing his best football this year, given the surrounding pieces of the Vikings. I mean, that is a Super Bowl team. Like, obviously, the ceiling of Jordan Love is higher. That's why Jordan Love has that contract. But Sam has not been that far off this year. And the Vikings team as a whole, I think, is better than Green Bay if you remove the quarterbacks. So I don't like. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to sit here and say that if the Vikings play their best football, they can't go on a Super Bowl run. That's ridiculous. It's just, do I expect them to play their best football right now? Not really. And that's where Kevin O'Connell is going to have to come in and be the coach that all the teams are apparently trying to trade their picks for. That report from Jay Glazer that came in, people trying to trade for Kevin O'Connell, whatever that means. Yeah, now is when you have to now is when the heart of the team is called into question. And the Lions, time and time again this year, Ian Hutchinson goes down. You know, Aleem McNeil goes down. You have David Montgomery goes down. Dan Campbell has done a great job. Every single time that something goes wrong for Detroit, of looking at his team and saying, hey, like, we're not going to be denied. I think he said almost that exact quote. He's like, we are not going to let our destiny be denied. And Kevin O'Connell now needs to do the same in that locker room, where there's probably a lot of dejected guys, a lot of guys who maybe are even debating if they trust Sam internally. They will never admit that, but maybe that's called into question. It's on Kevin O'Connell to make everybody believe again. And that's going to take a lot because Detroit's beat you twice now, and you have a much tougher path to winning the Super Bowl. So I need to see it next week against the Rams. I'm not going to, like, I'll convince myself that there's a world where this could happen and we go on a run, but I'm going to need to see it to actually believe. And if they go in and beat the crap out of the Rams and you know, we're going to, and the Packers upset the Eagles and things start working out where it's like, hey, maybe this could happen. Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm ruling out my belief the rest of the year. But right now, this is a low point, I would say, as a fan.
Two things. One, if you're enjoying this, like it or loathe it, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Especially if you're a Lions fan. A lot of Lions fans have come in here complaining that we don't talk about the Lions enough. This is primarily an NFC North podcast, but the fact is most of our viewers are Packers fans. If you're a Vikings fan or a Lions fan, or I don't think there's a single Bears fan in this room, but if you're a Bears fan, hit that subscribe button. Watch the videos we put about your team. We promise we're going to start trying to do more on the NFC North. And if your team's videos do well, we'll do plenty about them. So that's one thing. Second thing, this is a super chat that just came in from Mike Witt. He says, look, here's the bad thing. If you play Detroit in 2 weeks, Montgomery will be back. Players will be back.
Yeah.
And I think as you talk about Kevin O'Connell needing to get this team together, obviously he needs to get them together. First and foremost, we need to win that Rams game. Right? This isn't the NBA playoffs. You can't lose a game. If we don't win that game, we're out. But overall, when we watch Notre Dame football. And one of the things Marcus Freeman, like watching him coach, is he the best coach in college football? No. But going into big games, the difference between him and Brian Kelly is that when Marcus Freeman is there, the team's going to step up for big games and they're not going to crap themselves, right? There's going to be a game plan. They're going to play good football. There's going to be no. That's some of the bets against some weak teams, right? Obviously, I'm not saying it's been perfect, but in the big time games, Notre Dame has shown up pretty well. That's just true. I don't want to hear you say it's not
I
true.
I don't know how many big games we've had with Freeman so far, but
every single one of them we've shown up. We've shown up to those Ohio State games. We've shown up in the playoff games. Like we've shown up. Kevin O'Connell needs to convince this team that they can show up. And because this Lions game, I'm sorry, like the defense played well, but the offense just wasn't there. Sam Darnold just didn't show up. He was intimidated by the stage. It felt like he wasn't ready for big time football. Well, I'll tell you what. Justin Jefferson, you saw on the sidelines, he's ready for big time football. Brian Flores and this defense, they are ready for big time football. They played well enough to beat the best offense in the NFL on the defensive side. And many of our skill position players, heck, even the offensive line, a lot of those guys played well enough to beat the Lions. Sam Darnold didn't. It starts and ends with him. And if you don't have a quarterback who's prepared for the big game, you don't have a chance of beating the Lions in 2 weeks.
Yes.
You don't have a chance of beating Matthew Stafford. You wonder if he's going to show up for the playoffs.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're saying teams that can win that can go on a run in the NFC. You look at the Rams, their quarterback will be there. And that's part of what's scary about next week. If we went to Tampa Bay, Baker's been great, but I'm a little more confident that Baker will have a shaky game than Matthew Stafford. Like, Matt Stafford's the real deal. I think if you look at all the quarterbacks here in the NFC right now, you have one game. Who are you picking? Like, it's probably going to be Stafford. And
they're favorites. We've seen the lines. They are 1-point favorites.
Yeah, and that's what's a little scary there. The Monstar says, this was the Vikings game to lose. I said it depends which Darnold shows up, either Sam or shit. Feel bad for y'all, and I'm a Lions fan. Appreciate that, Monstar. And I think you're right. I said this a little bit earlier in the show, but I was asked when we went on Rocked On Detroit Lions, Ziggy and I were asked, like, what's the real X factor here? Like, what are you looking at as the thing that could derail the Vikings? And the answer to that is Darnold. But I didn't say that because I felt that Sam had earned the right for me to say, Sam had earned the right for me to believe in him. I said, look, the whole year he's been great. And every single time that people say what could blow up the Vikings, people will say Sam Darnold, but at some point you got to believe in him, right? And I said I believe in him, and that's what I get for I guess defending at the time. I still believe in Sam. I think he'll respond next week. He's done it most of the year. He's shown up in big moments. This was the first time. This was really the first time that you saw Sam completely fall apart. Richard Peterson says, "How are you not going to challenge that safety though?" And I actually thought that was another huge call. I don't know how the safety. And look, I'm not going to sit here. I don't want people to be saying I'm blaming the refs. Thought there were some bad calls, but the Vikings' failure to execute is the reason they lost. I don't think you can challenge that, right? I don't think you could challenge that.
No, you can't challenge no calls on penalties like that.
Yeah.
No, and it's honestly, in the course of the game, with the way this offense played, I think the Vikings actually benefited from the fact that it wasn't a safety. We weren't driving the ball down the field. We got a turnover a couple of plays later. Like that actually sort of worked out for us, weirdly enough. No, it's the Vikings. The Vikings lost the game, as he said, because they didn't execute and the Lions did. What else can be said?
To become a member of the channel, you go to our channel homepage and you can click join. We have some fun competitions. Actually, whoever won our Pick'em League, I will announce that on the show tomorrow. We're going to have Bosarowski Productions on to talk a little bit of NFC North previews, probably just a playoff preview as well. We'll have coming out. So that'll be an interesting show, given a Packers and Vikings fans' reaction after today's games. we'll see how that goes. We'll probably a lot of grieving and a lot of trying to
Oh
talk
yeah, no, it's a
talk each other
Vikings
back into
fan,
believing.
a pair of Vikings fans and a and a Packers fan talk about their team's playoff futures. If you're a Lions hate watcher, that video will be just straight black tar heroin, just directly into your veins.
Tron Legacy says, dude said he believes in Stafford more only because Stafford has won a Super Bowl. Yeah. Like, yeah.
I believe on the guy that went on a Super Bowl run more than Sam Darnold.
That is why I believe in Stafford. Okay. Like, why would I not believe in a quarterback who went on a Super Bowl run and played excellent there? Right? Like, is that, am I?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not trying to make fun of you here, but like, you're correct. The reason that we believe Matthew Stafford will show up is because during the playoffs in general, he's showed up, but he's been there. Yeah. And, you don't have to win a Super Bowl, right? Like Jared Goff. I said this in our game preview on Rocked On Lions, right? Like, he's been in high pressure situations. He's made it to a Super Bowl. He made it to a second NFC Conference Championship game with the Lions, another with the Rams. Like, he's been in big time situations. Sam Darnold, this was far and away the biggest game of his career, right? Like, it's not even close. Jared Goff, this was arguably not even top 5 biggest games of his career. So, yeah, I'm going to trust the guy that's been in those situations before, has had ups, has had downs, over the guy who the one thing he's done is had the worst game of his entire season in a big game.
Yeah, I'm just messing around, Tron. Like, that is.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate the comments.
That
actually is
about
why.
Jared Goff, man. People forget about Jared Goff. He's been in those situations. Like, we didn't scare him.
Goff? Oh, I thought what Goff did well tonight, and I couldn't really understand why we couldn't draw it up similarly. Is in the they were shouting it out on the Sunday night football broadcast tonight. Shout out to my friend Caroline who works on that crew. When we're sending blitzes, this happened in the first game too. The Lions attack where we blitz from. It's not crazy. You saw that on the Gibbs touchdown, pass. Like when
super chat from Will Coots, Paul, you're hot tonight. Wow.
Oh, thank you, Will. I appreciate that.
I'll tell you what. I don't know why you didn't say it about me. Steam is coming out of my head. I'm so hot.
Will Coots Will Coots was part of the foundation of this show, and
former host of the Paul Farrington Show. We need a round of applause for Will Coots.
Yeah, a round of applause for Will. Will, Will helps run a bar, up in Boston, and it's a Vikings bar. They
Coots, can we just get a report from you about what the atmosphere was like in that Vikings bar tonight?
Yeah, so Will was texting us
a couple sentences in the chat.
Will was texting me during the game, and he said on the Addison. I'm sorry, not on the Addison touchdown, on the play that should have been a touchdown to Addison, the 4th down call, the first failed 4th down, I believe, for the Vikings. It might have been the second. Sad that I'm saying that. Darnold's looking Addison's way, and Addison breaks wide open, and he came back. He just turned away and went to Jefferson. Will said the entire bar went, Addison! Everyone in my basement went, Addison! And it was just that kind of night for us, where even everyone watching on television could see the open receiver. Much easier said than done. I'm not an NFL quarterback. I'm sure I'm not making that read. But it was just that kind of night for Darnold. And look, it's I feel a little bad that we came on here and just bashed Sam a little bit because he's had an awesome season. Like,
I'll tell you what, though. If he'd played well, we would have been the first ones to come on here and praise him.
Yes,
we've been talking good about Sam Darnold all year, and you have to be honest when it's not so good.
Yeah, Ricky G. Marie says, Lions lose, Vikings win next week. How would you feel? Well, Lions will have a bye, but if the Vikings win next week, yeah, then divisional round, you never know. But no, yeah, again, just to go back on Sam, he's been so good all season that you're allowed to have bad games. The thing that sucks is it came in such a big moment. So I'm not going to come out right now and be like, why would we ever bring him back next year? The Vikings can't win a big game with Sam Darnold. I think they can win a big game with Sam Darnold. It's just, Sam's going to have to prove that. And next week's another really big game. So if Sam comes out and he lays an egg in LA in a playoff game, then I think some more questions come into play. But all year he's been great, and he's responded every single time. So I'm not going to come out and just rip him to shreds like I'm sure some people will. But, yeah, it's a disappointing night. Like, clearly it's a disappointing night. And I think Sam Darnold will be the first one to come out and say, he probably has already said it. We've been going for a while.
He did a postseason game press conference. It was like, the game's on me, guys. I got to play better.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. It was someone mentioned earlier in the comment section as well in the chat saying that the Vikings were coming off such an emotional win last week that maybe that had something to do with it. And I I don't know, maybe like you never know when people always talk about that emotional win and rolling over to the next week. Will you show up? Exactly. Some people blame the NFC Championship game against the Eagles on that after the Diggs touchdown. I don't really believe in that. I think that you come off those wins and you're ready to go. Like that's momentum right there. You know what I mean? When you have big moments and great moments for your franchise, I think that instills belief in everybody. Like after last week, all of Viking Nation, yeah, it was an emotional win. We beat the Packers, beat them pretty good, narrowly escaped though because of some shenanigans at the end. Like that to me was reason to think, hey, we can go win the Super Bowl because we just beat up on a good team at home and Darnold looks so good. I don't really believe in the emotional win letdown. Like, I think emotional wins make you believe in your team. And tonight, Sam just didn't have it. That's what it is. And Moses Maloney says it. Yeah, we swept you all for 2 seasons straight. Again, I'll be the first one to admit
owns Brian Flores.
Say again. I'm sorry.
Ben Johnson owns Brian Flores.
Like I'll be the first one. Well, again, first half I thought we did well, but
yeah,
the Lions have the Vikings number right now. Straight up, yeah. They know how to beat us. I'm going into these games if we play them again in Detroit, whether or not I believe we can win. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know if we will though. Like they have a way of beating us right now, and it's just how it is. I wonder, would you guys rather see the Vikings or the Packers in the playoffs? Curious in the chat. Could you throw that up, Ziggy, a little poll? And then we'll wrap up soon because we have been going for a while. It's 12:30. This was very helpful for me, guys, to get this out of my system here.
I put this for Lions fans. Lions fans, you don't have to be a Lions fan, just people who aren't fans of the Packers or the Vikings. Who are you more scared of in the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm curious how that goes.
I think it's going to come out close to 50-50 because both of these teams have had their ups and downs. I think the correct answer still is the Vikings because the Vikings defense is far superior and the Vikings offense can play close to or at the level of the Packers offense. But I can see why you'd pick Green Bay as the scarier team.
Here's what Will Coots says about Skull Boston, the Vikings bar up in Boston. He said the bar atmosphere, all the first-time visitors / bandwagoners left halfway through the third. Good riddance, TVH. The OGs stayed the whole time, but we were all deflated. Began to be deflated in the first quarter when the blatant calls went against us, the safety, for example. Simultaneous Addison chant was an insane moment. Some of the calls were really annoying in the beginning of the game, but there was just sort of that waterfall of or that avalanche of some calls I didn't like, the face mask, the safety, the hit on, I believe it was Hawkinson by Branch. There were a few things like that, and I think we got away with the delayed game in there. But combine that with the inability to execute from the 5-yard line, like it all just fell apart. So we had our moments.
It came out 53% Packers, 46% Vikings. So like I thought it was. It's a toss-up.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll wrap it up here. Guys, it's been an awesome chat tonight. You know, the trolls in the chat, the supporters in the chat, the people who just wanted to come hang out. We appreciate all the comments, really. Ziggy and I have pretty thick skin here. You can say whatever you want. We're going to be fine here.
And a whole bunch of you, we've added a whole bunch of subscribers and we hit 17,000. So we thank you for that. And if you weren't one of those, if you're not subscribed and you've enjoyed watching us suffer a little bit, usually we're a little less negative than this. We do a little bit more analysis, but you sort of got a sense of the vibe of the show. If you like that, hit that subscribe button. We run plenty of NFC North videos. We also talk about the whole NFL. We've got our third co-host, Jack, who wasn't with us tonight. He adds a whole new different dynamic. So if you enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button. We'd love to see you back here.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun as the playoffs get rolling. It sucked losing to the Lions tonight, but hey, Detroit, very well deserved. Let's leave it on this. Detroit, very well deserved. Fantastic season, 15-2. You know, it's one of the best seasons in the history of the NFL. Like, I know that I was upset tonight, but I'm acknowledging that this Lions team is the real deal. They have been the entire season. They've really been for 2.5 seasons now. Dan Campbell's done a great job turning it around. I'm happy for you guys. Your fan base has been starved of success long enough. Jared Goff has had his resurrection in Detroit has been fun to watch. I feel good for him. I don't know if people know this, but I was helping produce a Mike Silver show a couple years ago, and Mike Silver is good friends with Jared Goff. Goff came on. It was me, Mike, and Jared were in the Zoom chat, and Jared Goff just goes, "This is when the Lions, I think, were 1-8 or whatever it was 2 years ago.
Rock bottom.
Rock bottom. They were 1-8, and Jared Goff goes like, "This is off camera. You know, I really think we're gonna turn it around, Mike. Like, there's something here right now that is just a little different. And it's gonna happen." And I remember I had my camera off, and I'm just sitting in my chair laughing. Like, I was like,
you,
"Oh my!"
You texted me about that. You're like, this Jared Goff, he's got no idea.
I was like, Jared. I like Jared Goff, but I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. This team's 1-8. They're the Lions. Like, this is not happening. And maybe that's my comeuppance right here. Is, hey, like, I shouldn't have laughed, but it's very well deserved, Lions fans. I hope that you guys, I hope we beat you in the playoffs, but it's a well deserved run. And tonight, yeah, like, you put us away. And to the Vikings fans out there and the Packers fans, like, hopefully we get to go on a run. Like, I'll speak for both teams. Hopefully, Jordan Love is healthy. Hopefully, Sam Darnold can recover from what happened tonight, and I believe he will. I mean, these are both very talented teams. I think the Vikings have a lot of optimism, like, on the season. We just got to turn that into showing up in big games. Slowtown Trev, who's been, he's donated a lot tonight and has been a fun member in the chat here, goes, "You guys are awesome. Just supporting. Your season isn't over." So, all right, I think we'll work it back to believing by the end of the show. We go from despair to hope, and that's going to be the goal for the rest of this week. We'll throw up some skull chants and we'll find ways to believe. 14-3 is not that bad after all. So we'll I guess this is a nice way to end a rather disappointing evening. But Ziggy, thanks for hopping on. Appreciate everybody in the chat, and we'll have a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of fun
for the playoffs
for next season. All right, Ziggy, walk us out here because our producer left, so I have to walk over and end our live.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. Paul could cut me off at literally any second, so I don't know where that's coming from here. But this is one of our biggest lives ever. I don't really know what to make of that. I guess people just like to watch us suffer. But I'll conclude by saying this. This is a tough night for Paul. This is a tough night for me. This is a tough night for everyone who was a Vikings fan. Not a tough night for Lions fans, I'm sure. But I'm glad, whether you're a Lions fan or a Packers fan or whatever,